A huge shout out to our sponsors, the Battle Bunker and Ultimate Guard. Alright guys, today we are going to take a look at how to get started in the game and improve on a theme deck that you might begin with. And the theme deck I'm actually going to choose is the Burning Shadows Ninetales theme deck, the Luminous Frost deck. So I'm just going to clone that that deck here and go find it. So let's have a look here. Here we go. This is the copy. And let's see what we have and go over what's included in a typical theme deck that you're given. So the first thing you'll notice about theme decks is that they play a very high Pokemon and energy count and a very low trainer count. So at the top there in those little green tabs you'll see we've got 25 Pokemon, 15 trainers, and 20 energy. And this is really one of the key differences that you'll notice. A competitive deck would typically play significantly more trainer cards, probably in the region of 25 to even 30 trainers, and a much more focused tight line of Pokemon. The other thing you'll notice about theme decks is that they often include two different energy types. So unless you're able to draw into the energy you need at any given point in time, you often sit with the wrong energy in hand or the wrong Pokemon. And the other thing that you'll notice is that they include kind of awkward counts of cards. So a lot of kind of one-offs or pyramid style evolution lines where you only have one of the stage 2s available to you. Not ideal, and not really kind of geared towards competitive play. So let's jump into what's good in this deck and what's bad. What is very good in this deck is the Alolan Ninetales with the Luminous Barrier. This ability on the Ninetales prevents all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon GX or EX. So this not only stops damage, but it also stops effects like poison, burn, confusion, asleep, de-evolution attacks like Espeon EX, or anything that, for example, might try and push that Pokemon to the bench or discard energies on it. So a really strong ability in the game, and one that's going to force your opponent to have to work around and alter their strategy just to deal with this card. So as a theme deck, it includes two of this Alolan Ninetales, which is really good and very good to build on top of. Then it includes only 3 of the Alolan Vulpix. So, sorry guys, I'm very tired, so you can forgive me for yawning. 3 of the Alolan Vulpix, not 4. And the other thing about this Alolan Vulpix is that it's not the good Alolan Vulpix. This is the one that came out in Burning Shadows, and it also has an energyless attack, but in this case the attack is Powder Snow. We would be looking for a different Vulpix. The one we're looking for is in fact the Beacon Vulpix. So let's just have a look at that. Beacon, an energyless attack, lets you search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So this would be a card that would be significantly better, and one of the first things that you want to do is swap these out. You'd also want to go to a full count of this card. So, let's look to do that as a starting point, right? So we're going to bring this count down, and we're going to go up to 4 of these guys. All right. So we now have 4 of the better Vulpix, and we have our 2 Alolan Ninetales in there. Then let's take a look at Sandslash, Alolan Sandslash. It has the ability Slush Rush. Once during your turn, you may draw a card. So the idea here is that this card lets you keep your hand refreshed and lets you keep drawing cards from the deck over and over and over. Now this is pretty decent, and it has an attack that isn't that bad either. We're looking at an attack here for a water and a double colorless, which does 50 damage and switches this Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. So not bad. If you were using this to pivot into something like a Taurus GX, could actually be quite decent. But the reality is that there are far better draw support Pokemon in the game. And, you know, the draw support Pokemon in the game that I'm thinking of is actually Octillery. So I'm going to take these out, and I'm going to add in Octillery. Alright, so Octillery has the Abyssal Hand ability. Once during a turn you may draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. So this is a much better draw support, and it needs a Remoraid to go with it. We will use this Remoraid. So we now have a 2-2 Octillery line in the deck. So we now have improved basic, we have improved draw support, and now let's look at, you know, how we can improve this deck even further. So the first thing that I think we need to deal with is the fact that we have also got fire Pokemon in here. Now this would make sense if perhaps we were trying to deal with a weakness for our water type attackers. If they were all, as an example, weak to grass, then fire would be an idea to counter that. But the reality is our main attacker, Alolan Ninetales, is weak to steel. So, you know, once again, I suppose fire is good to counter that. The problem here is that we have this mixed energy requirement. So, because none of these attackers are colorless attackers and none of their attacks are particularly good, I would suggest we drop these attackers. Now, if you did want to, you know, deal with your weakness, we'd look for a colorless fire type attacker. So let's go here and we say we want to type attacker fire with a colorless attack and probably a basic. Okay, let's see what we have. So we had a couple of options, and you know, none of these have exclusively colorless energy attacks. It's showing us things that have colorless in their attack cost. Now, one of the really good colorless fire type attackers in the game at the moment is Turtonator. So let's actually have a look at this guy. Shell Trap. For a double colorless energy does 20, and during your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is attacked, it takes 80 damage. So if we really wanted to have a fire type attacker in here, Turtonator is a Pokemon we could include. It's debatable whether it's worthwhile, but let's put him in there for now. Then let's have a look at Bouffalant. This is a colorless attacker, double colorless energy, Boof ahead for 30. Actually not that bad, a pretty decent attacker. It's fighting weak and has no resistance, and it's pretty beefy at 120 HP, so let's leave him in there. Then we've got Bruxish. It has the Gnash Teeth attack, which confuses your opponent, and then it has the really awkward Synchronoise attack for 60, which also does 20 damage to each of your opponent's benched Pokemon that shares a type with your opponent's active Pokemon. So actually not too bad and pretty tanky at 100 HP. So, you know, although its first attack doesn't do much damage, it does put your opponent in an awkward position, and the second attack is actually not too bad. So, you know, maybe worthwhile keeping in the deck. And then we get to this Kingdra line, and you'll see I've already actually traded this card away. You know, we're not really focused here on a stage 2. We don't want to play Rare Candy to try and accelerate our stage 2 evolutions. So this is a card that I think we should drop entirely. We're going to drop the entire line of Kingdra and remove that from the deck. Now let's have a look at this Simipour. Move a water energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon for 50. A 90 HP stage 1. Really not a good attacker, and something that I think we can do without. So we've thinned our Pokemon line down significantly, but we don't have any big bulky attackers, and the first thing that we will want to do is solve that problem. So let's just reset this filter, and let's look at Ninetales and Ninetales GX in particular. Here we go. It's a 210 HP, stage 1 GX attacker with 3 really good attacks. Ice Blade for double colorless, 50 damage anyway. Blizzard Edge for 2 water and a colorless, 160. And Ice Path GX, allowing you to move all damage counters onto your opponent's Pokemon. So we're going to add that and this is a card that we probably want to put at a 3 count. So now we've got 4 of the basic, 3 of the GX, and 2 of the non-GX attackers. A pretty good lineup of attackers in the deck. Now let's jump to the energy. We don't need the fire since we have binned all our Pokemon that actually have fire energy requirements, but we have got a number of attacks that require double colorless energy. Now, this energy provides 2 colorless energies to the Pokemon it's attached to, and this is a card you want to play 4 of if the deck needs it at all. What that does also mean is that we probably need a bit less water energy, so I'm going to drop this down to a 10 count for now. How is the deck looking now? We're at 45 cards, and we have a much more streamlined set of attackers and support Pokemon. The other thing that we now need to go and look at is trainer cards. So let's jump to trainers and see what's in here. Alright, in terms of draw support, we have 3 Howl, draw 3 cards. We have 2 Professor Kukui, draw 2 cards, and our attacks do 20 more damage. So, not amazing, and the card that we really need to include in the deck is Professor Sycamore. This card is kind of our best draw support option, letting us discard our hand and draw 7 cards. You really want to be running a 4 count in the deck if you're struggling to get your hands on them, and you can only get your hands on 2, perhaps you've only been able to get a Battle Arena deck. At least 2 is a decent start. And you could supplement that with how to draw your 3 cards, but 2 is a bare minimum. The other thing you'll notice in terms of draw support is we don't have any shuffle draw support. Now in terms of shuffle draw, there are a couple of options. There's Shauna, shuffle your hand into the deck and draw 5 cards, a lot more accessible and easy to get your hands on. And then the best shuffle draw in the game, N. Each player shuffles his or her hand back into the deck, and then each player draws a card for each of his or her remaining prize cards, letting you disrupt your opponent's hand as well as shuffle your own. And this is an incredibly powerful card to play. Once again, I would like everyone to be playing 4 of this in a deck, but let's say for purposes of access to cards, we're only able to get 2. So we now have a much better draw support lineup, and I've been challenged, but we don't have time for that right now. Let's look at, perhaps we add in 2 Shauna as well. Oops. I'm going to add in 2 Shauna, a lot more accessible and easy to get at draw support. So now we've got a really good lineup of draw supporters. Now let's look at the cards we have to search out Pokemon. We've got 2 Nest Ball, putting a basic Pokemon on our bench. Not a bad option. Helps us get out the Pokemon that we need. And we've got 2 Timer Ball. This really, lets us look for those evolution lines that we need. The stage 1s in the deck. Get them out of the deck and use those to evolve our Pokemon. But the best ball search card in the game is Ultra Ball. This card lets you discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for any Pokemon, and put that Pokemon into your hand. So let's just say that in most decks you should be playing 4 of this card. Once again, if you're not able to get 4, you're only able to get your hands on 2, let's assume that we are in a position that we need to use just 2. Alright, so now we've got a couple of options to find Pokemon on the deck, search out what we need and get going. Now let's look at switching cards. We have got 1 Escape Rope, which effectively has a gust effect on your opponent's Pokemon. They have to switch with one of their benched, and then you also switch. Now, a pretty good item card to play, but it doesn't let you choose the target. Your opponent chooses the target. There is a significantly better card in the game, and that is our boy Guzma. You get to choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to switch as they're active, and then you switch one of yours. And this is a card you should be playing once again in minimum of 2 in a deck. So let's put in 2 Guzma. Alright, now let's jump to tool cards. There's only 1 in here, Wishful Baton. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out, you may move up to 3 basic energy from that Pokemon to one of your benched Pokemon. Pretty good to preserve energy on the field, but there are far better ways to preserve energy, and in this deck we are concerned around damage output, and that's where Choice Band comes in. The Pokemon that has this card attached to it, its attacks do 30 more damage to GX and EX Pokemon. And once again, here I think you should be playing a minimum of 2, if not 4, and as a result, I think we're going to go with 3, not too difficult to get your hands on. We're going to go for a 3 count in the deck. Alright, now let's look at Pokemon and energy recovery. So we play 1 Rescue Stretcher. This lets you put 1 Pokemon in your hand or 3 from the discard pile back into the deck. A really good card to get those valuable pieces back, but it doesn't get your energy back. We do play 1 energy retrieval to help with that. Now, in terms of energy recovery, there is a much better option in water decks, and that is Aqua Patch. You can attach a water energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. And because our Ninetales is discarding energy at the end of each attack, we are going to have lots of water energy in the discard pile, and that's where Aqua Patch comes in. I've only got the secret rares, so we're going to go with those for now. We now have 59 cards, so let's look at what else is in the deck. We have Big Masala, heals 20 and removes a special condition. Because we have Guzma that lets us switch, this isn't really relevant, and we're going to drop that out of the deck. But, I think what we do need is a way to deal with tools on our opponent's side of the field. And that's where we'd look at a card like Field Blower. It lets you choose up to 2 any combination of Pokemon tools and stadiums and discard them. So we're going to play one of those. And then we're talking about stadiums. Let's have a look at that. We don't have any stadiums in this deck, but a natural fit would be Brooklet Hill. Lets you search your deck for a basic water Pokemon and put it onto your bench. This is a great card to help us find those pieces that we need in the deck. Really, really good. Now, we're looking good in terms of general supporters. The other one we have in here is Lana, letting you heal 50 damage from each Pokemon that has any water energy attached to it. Actually not a bad supporter, and maybe something to keep in the deck on the first pass. But I think we can afford to drop 1 water energy to put in here another card that I think we need to consider, and that is Acerola. Put 1 Pokemon that has any damage counters on it, and all cards attached to it, into your hand. This card could be invaluable in terms of picking up a Turtonator if we need to get it out of the active. It does have a 3 retreat cost, and also in terms of recovering our main attackers. So, pretty good as an overall deck build. The other thing we need to deal with is retreat cost. And you'll notice that we have got some heavy retreaters in here, and the only way to really get them out of the active is by playing Guzma. So, a tool that I think we need to consider in here is Floatstone. Pokemon this card is attached to has no retreat cost, and I think we need to play at a minimum 1, if not 2 of these. Again, this is a card that you can get access to in the Battle Arena decks. We are a bit short on space, so I'm actually going to keep this at a 1 count for now, and we're going to save this deck and say, I think we are in a pretty good space, although I think we can afford to drop this Bouffalant and keep our deck pretty streamlined. I think we're going to actually go up to a 2 count on this Floatstone. Alright, so there we have it. We have taken our theme deck, we've traded our way into something that is stronger and more competitive, and I think we can give this a try. So let's save this up. We are going to call this Luminous Frost V2, and we are going to give it a whirl. So let's save that out. I'm going to just quickly favorite that, and we'll jump onto the ladder and give it a spin. So Luminous Frost V2, here we go. Alright, we've got ourselves a game. We're up against what looks like a Volcanion deck, which should be a really good matchup for us, but let's have a look and see what we're facing. Alright, so we start with a mulligan, no basics. Our opponent will know what we're playing, and we'll get a chance to shuffle back and draw a new hand of cards. We are able to just get the 1 mulligan, and we start with a Bruxish. So, not a great starter. This, as I mentioned, is a Pokemon that's of debatable value, but let's see what we can do here. We are going second, so our opponent will start, and they start with a Turtonator and an Oranguru on the bench. Choice Band goes to the Turtonator, Fire Energy, and he's going to play an N. We're going to shuffle back and draw a new hand of cards. So, not bad for us, actually, pretty good. And we have a pretty decent hand here, which we can definitely make work. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a Remoraid, bench a Remoraid. I'm going to Ultra Ball, and I'm going to discard a Water and another Water Energy, so double Water Energy. We're going to get a Vulpix down on the bench. We're going to put that guy down. We are going to Aqua Patch to the Vulpix. We are then going to put a Water Energy on our Bruxish. And we are going to Gnashing Teeth, confusing the Turtonator and making it pretty awkward for our opponent to attack. The other interesting thing is that, you know, Shell Trap doesn't really take effect with the Gnashing Teeth attack because we're not doing damage. I imagine our opponent's going to go for a Tapu Lele here, maybe. They're actually going to go for a Baby Volcanion. So we're playing against a Turtonator, Salazzle, Volcanion deck. He's going to instruct with the Oranguru, drawing up to 3 cards, and putting a Fury Belt on the bench. Goes for the attack and hits himself with the 30 damage. So, pretty cool. You know, I think we don't have a lot of options here, but what I would like to do at this point in time is retreat into the Vulpix. And I am going to Beacon, getting myself an Artillery and a Ninetales. I wonder if I should get another Vulpix. I think I'm going to get another Vulpix, actually. So those two will go into my hand, and let's see what our opponent can do here. If they've got a Fire Energy, they can attach and go for the attack. And if they do and they flip heads, they will knock us out for sure. Our opponent's going to play the Guzma here, bringing up our Remoraid. Does he have an energy in hand to steam up? Fury Belt to the bench and Oranguru. So if he gets one steam up here, he will knock out our Remoraid. Just a power heater for 30 damage. So that's good for us. I'm going to bench this Vulpix. I'm going to put the Ninetales over here. Evolve up the Artillery. I am going to put the Choice Band on the Ninetales. And I'm going to Abyssal Hand, drawing 4 new cards. Alright, so we've got an Aqua Patch here. I'm going to play that. I'm putting that energy onto the benched Ninetales. I'm going to play the Howl, drawing 3 cards. Alright, so we've got another Remoraid here, which is actually pretty neat. And we've got a Field Blower. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to discard the tool on the bench and the tool on the bench. So both of those guys we're going to discard with our Field Blower. And I'm going to actually attach this Water Energy over here. And then I'm going to pass. Let's see what our opponent can do here. He's going to steam up with the Volcanion, so he'll be doing 60 damage this turn, taking a knockout on our Artillery. He's going to play the Lele, and what does he go for here? Going to get a Sycamore, discarding his hand and drawing 7 new cards. Alright. Sycamore going down. And let's see what he can do. Max Elixir. Going to look at the top 6 cards, find a basic energy and attach it to the bench. Going for that Oranguru so that he can take a knockout on our Ninetales. And down goes the Artillery. Up comes our Ninetales. Alright, so we're going to evolve this Vulpix into the Ninetales GX. Evolve up the Artillery, and now we've got an awkward position. I'm actually going to not bench the Turtonator. I'm going to draw with Abyssal Hand. We get ourselves a Brooklet Hill. Going to use that to find another Vulpix. Put that on the bench. And unfortunately, we are short of the energy that we need to attack. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to retreat into this Bruxish and pass. You can see the power of the Tapu Lele that lets our opponent access supporters as and when they need, but obviously the cost of this deck is significantly higher than the cost of ours. We're playing a pretty, what I would call, budget build on top of an existing deck, and really just seeing how it performs against one of the sort of top decks in the format, which is the Turtonator Volcanion Salazzle. So the Volcanion is going to put in some work here, and let's see what he's able to do. You can see here that, you know, the lack of access to things like Sycamore and N is really hurting us. We don't have great draw support in the deck at all at the moment. I'm actually going to evolve this Ninetales up. I'm going to play the Timer Ball. We get a double heads, but I'm actually going to take nothing. I'm using this just to thin my hand down so that I'm able to draw cards with Abyssal Hand. We do get the Guzma, but it's not what we need right now, so I'm going to pass. We really need a double colorless energy, or even a single water energy for the turn. Okay, our opponent going to play a Hala, so they haven't used their GX, so all they get is 4 cards. And Power Heater for 30 once more. Alright, so we get an Ultra Ball. That's a good card to draw. I'm going to Ultra Ball, and I'm going to discard the Turtonator and the Ninetales. Getting nothing. I'm going to use the Abyssal Hand one more time. Alright, so we get the double colorless energy, and we'll be doing 110 damage here, which is plenty to knock out this Turtonator, which is what I'm going to do. Play the double colorless down, and we will go down to 4 prize cards. Let's see what we get off our prizes. Get a Water Energy and an Aqua Patch, so 2 pretty good draws. One of the things that you'll notice that we're missing in this deck is a free retreat option. Often Ninetales decks will play Tapu Koko promo for that free retreat. It's really strong, and it also helps you set up some decent knockouts by spreading 20 damage across the field. So, you know, I think all in all, I mean, we're going to go down now to this Oranguru. It's going to take the knockout on us. And we're in a position now where we need to be able to Aqua Patch and then retreat. So I'm actually going to try and send in this Bruxish, because what I'd really like here is the Floatstone. And unfortunately we don't have it. So we can either play an N and get 4, or we can play the Shauna and get 5, and I think I'm going to go for the Shauna here. Alright, so we don't get what we need, but we do get the Rescue Stretcher, and I'm actually going to use that. I'm going to play the option to put cards back into the deck, and the cards I'm going to put back are the Vulpix, the Ninetales, and the Ninetales. I'm then going to Nest Ball, getting that Vulpix back out onto the field. I'm going to attach the Choice Band over here, and then we are going to Abyssal Hand for 3 cards. And let's see what we can do here. So we get a Water, and we get a double colorless energy. So I'm actually going to attach the Water to the active, and I'm going to go for the Gnashing Teeth, confusing that Oranguru, forcing our opponent to play a Guzma or pay the retreat. Confusion is an awkward status condition for people to play around. We've seen it with Espeon GX, and you know, here we see it as well. Our opponent taking their time to think what they're going to do. They're going to take this opportunity to play the Kiawe, putting 3 energy in this case onto that Tapu Lele. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play the Timer Ball. We do hit the heads, and I'm going to take another Ninetales. I'm going to put that down onto the bench. I am going to Floatstone the active, put the double colorless down, and I'm going to Abyssal Hand here, drawing back up to 5 cards. Alright, so we've got the N, and I think that's a pretty... Well, our opponent just played the Kiawe last turn, so, you know, I think we can potentially afford to hold that draw support, and we're just going to go for the Blizzard Edge here, discarding that double colorless energy, which will reduce the Lele attack strength as well. Our opponent going to bring up the Volcanion, so I presume he's got a Guzma in hand. Rescue Stretcher. Going to put that Oranguru back on the bench. Floatstoning the active. Field Blower to discard the tools. And I imagine here going to retreat into the Lele. And hit us for potentially 120 damage. Max Elixir onto the Lele. So 110 is pretty likely here. The Salazzle comes down, and a Ho-Oh. Oranguru instruct up to 1. Okay, so he's actually going to bring up the baby Volcanion and do that 30 damage, setting up the knockout with the Lele. And, you know, here we need to be careful about what we do. And this is an instance where I think How is actually a pretty good play, to be honest. And what I might actually do is I might actually retreat myself into this Bruxish, put a double colorless energy on it, and I'm going to go for that Synchronoise, putting 20 on all of my opponent's fire type Pokemon. Alright, so he's going to Kiawe, most likely onto the... Wow, onto the Lele. Okay. So he's all in on that Lele. We only play, I think, the one Guzma. I don't think we play more than that. We've used one, but can't be 100% certain. So I'm going to put the... How many double colors have we used here? We've used 2, and we've got 1 left in the deck. We've used 3 Aqua Patch. I'm actually going to play the Lana here. Healing up my guys, and I'm going to take the knockout on this Baby Volcanion, putting that extra damage on all those other fire type Pokemon. We have a Kukui. Up comes the Volcanion, and this Lele's got what, 9 energy on him. Wow, that's pretty drastic. And my opponent going to Ultra Ball here. Oranguru instruct, drawing up to 3 cards, and then Energy Drive for 200 damage. So I'm going to attach here, and I'm going to GX attack for the game. Alright. So there we have it. I mean, a pretty good matchup for us, but you can see how a few changes to a theme deck can really step up your game. Minimal amount of investment, and the deck is significantly improved. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, like, and please subscribe to the channel. You'll be kept up to date with new deck profiles, competitions, interviews, and possibly some live games as well. Thanks guys, cheers.